You know that feeling when you just stumble upon a way of thinking that completely, well, reshapes how you see everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, today we're doing just that. We're taking a deep dive into some really influential Orthodox Indian philosophical systems, exploring how these ancient thinkers tackled the big questions: knowledge, reality, the self, liberation.
Indeed. And our source material for this, it's quite rich. We've got original sutras, commentaries from Nyaya, Vaisesika, Yoga, Purvamimamsa, and various Vedanta schools, too.
Right.
Then think of it like a journey, through intellectual history, uncovering these really diverse frameworks for understanding existence itself.
Right. So our mission today is to pull out the most important kind of nuggets of wisdom from these, well, pretty dense texts.
Yeah, they can be.
We'll clarify the core ideas, maybe highlight some surprising facts, and help you understand what's really central to their unique perspectives.
Yeah.
Especially on, how we know things, what the world's made of, and what freedom really means to them. Okay, let's unpack these ancient insights. The foundation of knowledge, Nyaya's logical toolkit. So we kick things off with Nyaya. The name literally means something like that by which the mind is led to a conclusion.
That's right. It's often called the science of right reasoning, a pramana shastra.
Science of correct knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's fundamentally about how we figure out what's true, how we gain correct knowledge. But, how did they actually define correct knowledge?
Well, what's really foundational in Nyaya and quite fascinating is how meticulous they are. They identify 4 key factors in any act of knowing.
Okay.
There's the subject, the knower,
Okay.
then the object being known, the act of cognition itself, and crucially, the means by which you gain that knowledge.
Means.
Yes, these means are called pramanas,
Yeah.
and they are absolutely the bedrock for understanding truth in this system.
So they're not just saying, okay, you know stuff. They're asking how. How do you know you know?
Precisely.
And they give us 4 main ways, right? 4 pramana.
4 distinct pathways, yes.
Okay, let's break them down. First is perception, pratyaksha.
Right. Knowledge gained directly through the senses contacting an object.
Just seeing, hearing, touching.
Well, yes, but with a really important qualification. It has to be well-defined.
Well-defined. What does that mean exactly?
It's not just a vague impression. It's not just seeing something. It's seeing clearly, understanding what it is you're perceiving, moving beyond just raw sense data to a concrete understanding.
Okay, so clear seeing, not just seeing. Got it. What's next?
Next is inference, anumana. This means knowledge which follows other knowledge.
Okay.
Or sometimes defined as knowledge preceded by perception. Basically, drawing conclusions, reasoning.
Like seeing smoke and inferring fire.
Exactly like that. But here's where Nyaya gets really interesting, maybe even a game changer. They insist there can be no inference without a universal connection.
Universal connection.
They call it vyapti. This is an unbreakable, universal relationship between the sign, like smoke, and the thing inferred, like fire.
So it's not just I've seen smoke and fire together before.
No, it's stronger. It's based on the knowledge of a universal rule. Wherever there is smoke of this kind, there must be fire. It's about necessity, not just probability. This vyapti is absolutely crucial.
That's a high bar for inference. What else?
Then there's comparison or analogy, upamana.
Okay.
This is how we gain knowledge about something new, by comparing it to something we already know.
Like if someone tells you about, say, a garar and says it's kind of like a wild ox.
Exactly. You grasp the nature of the unfamiliar gar through its similarity to the familiar ox. But again, there's a condition. The similarity has to be essential, not just superficial.
Right, makes sense. And the last one.
The 4th is verbal knowledge or testimony, shabda.
So knowledge from words.
Specifically from the instructive assertion of a reliable person. Think of it as credible testimony, whether spoken or written, often referring to the authority of the Vedas or trusted experts.
So the reliability of the source is key here.
Absolutely. They even get into analyzing words, meanings, whether words refer to individuals or classes. It's quite detailed.
Interesting. Now, what about things that aren't there? Like knowing something is absent.
Ah, that's a fascinating point Nyaya makes. They uniquely argue you don't need a separate 5th pramana for knowing non-existence, or abhava.
So how do you know something's not there?
You infer it. You don't need a special absence sense to see an empty chair. You perceive the space. You perceive the lack of a chair in that space, and you infer its absence based on your perception.
Okay, so non-existence is known through inference, based on perception.
Exactly. And for Nyaya, what's the ultimate test of whether any piece of knowledge derived through these pramanas is actually true?
Good question.
Successful action. Pravriti samarthya. If your knowledge allows you to interact effectively with the world and achieve your aims regarding that object, then it's considered true. If it works, it's true.
Practical.
Yeah.
So the deep insight here isn't just that they had logic, but that Nyaya really forces us, even today, to question the foundations of our own knowledge, especially inference. Think about it. You hear a claim, maybe in the news, X caused Y. Nyaya would instantly ask, where's the vyapti? Where's that universal unbreakable connection? Without it, you might just be looking at correlation, maybe coincidence, but not necessarily proven causation, according to their standard. That's a powerful filter for thinking critically, isn't it?
Definitely still relevant. Decoding the universe. Vaisiska's atoms and Samkhya's qualities.
Okay, so if Nyaya tells us how we know, the next obvious question is, well, what is it that we're knowing? What's the world made of?
And that leads us perfectly into Vaisisika. This system gives us this incredible ancient map of the universe's fundamental components. It's often described as having an atomistic realism.
Atomistic realism.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
It's quite close to Nyaya in its overall view, but Vaisika really focuses on categorization. They identify 6, sometimes 7, fundamental categories of reality padarthas.
Categories of everything that exists.
Basically, yes, things like substance, dravya, quality or attribute, guna, action, karma, generality or universal, samanya, individuality or particularity, vishesha, which gives the school its name, and inherence, samavaya.
Wow, that's comprehensive, like an ancient periodic table of existence.
That's a great analogy. They were trying to classify everything into these discrete, knowable categories.
And what about those substances? What do they list?
They identified 9 fundamental substances: earth, water, fire, air, ether, akasha, time, kala, space-stick, self or soul, ayopada, and mind, manas.
Earth, water, fire, air. Okay. Ether, time, space, plus self and mind.
Right, and then you have qualities inherent in these substances: color, taste, smell, touch, number, pleasure, pain, desire, aversion.
And actions too.
Yes, things like throwing upwards, throwing downwards, contraction, expansion, motion in general. It's like they were meticulously identifying every distinct type of building block and interaction that makes up reality.
And the atomism part.
Ah, yes. What's particularly striking is their view that the first 4 substances, earth, water, fire, and air, are composed of invisible, eternal atoms, paramanas.
Tiny, indestructible particles.
Exactly. These minute particles are the ultimate constituents of physical things. They combine in various ways to form everything we see. This idea, of fundamental, indivisible particles, it pops up again and again in human thought across cultures and millennia.
Fascinating. Okay, so that's Vaisika's map. What about Samkhya? That's another major player in understanding reality, right? But different.
Very different in its core principles. Samkhya is famously dualistic. It posits 2 fundamental, eternally distinct realities.
2, yes.
On one hand, you have Purusha, which is pure consciousness. Multiple individual centers of consciousness, actually. It's passive, unchanging, simply the witness.
Okay, conscious spirit. And the other?
The other is Prakriti. This is primal nature, or matter. It's unconscious, active, and constantly changing. It's the source of everything objective.
So consciousness separate from matter nature.
Fundamentally separate. But Prakriti isn't just a single lump of stuff. It's composed of 3 fundamental qualities or forces. The gunas, which are always present, interacting, and in flux.
Ah, the gunas. I've heard of these. Sattva, rajas, and tamas.
Those are the ones. Sattva is the quality of lightness, illumination, intelligence, pleasure, buoyancy. Think clarity, harmony.
Okay.
Rajas is the quality of activity, motion, excitement, passion, energy, but also pain. It's the driving force.
The energetic one.
And tamas is the quality of heaviness, inertia, obstruction, darkness, ignorance, sluggishness. It resists activity and clarity.
Inertia and dullness.
Exactly. Think of them maybe like 3 primary threads weaving the fabric of everything in the manifest world. Everything, physical objects, mental states, emotions, is a combination, a unique blend of these 3 gunas in constant interplay.
So all the diversity we see comes from these 3.
According to Samkhya, yes. Evolution, the unfolding of the universe, begins when the initial equilibrium of these gunas within Prakriti gets disturbed.
And what disturbs it?
Simply the presence of Purusha. Consciousness doesn't do anything to Prakriti, but its proximity acts like a catalyst, setting the evolutionary process in motion.
That's a subtle interaction.
It is. The source mentions that famous analogy to explain their relationship.
No, the lame man and the blind man.
That's the one. A lame man of good vision mounted on the shoulders of a blind man of surefoot.
Right. Purusha, the conscious self, has the vision but can't act, is lame. Prakriti, nature, can act, has sure feet, but has no consciousness, is blind.
Exactly. They need each other for the journey of experience and ultimately for liberation, even though Purusha itself remains inactive and distinct.
So how does the world unfold from Prakriti then, according to this?
From Prakriti, influenced by Purusha, the first evolute is Mahat or Buddhi, the great principle, the cosmic intellect.
Intellect first.
Then comes Ahankara, the eye maker, the principle of individuation or self-sense.
Okay, self-awareness.
And from Ahanka, depending on whether Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas dominates, arise the 11 sense action organs, including the mind, the 5 subtle elements, sound, touch, etc., and finally the 5 gross elements, ether, air, fire, water, earth.
Wow, so it's a whole cosmic blueprint, starting from Prakriti and the gunas, unfolding all the way down to the physical world and our senses.
Precisely. Samkhya gives us this detailed map of cosmic evolution, explaining how the material world manifests and operates, all driven by the interplay of these 3 fundamental qualities: the quest for freedom, yoga's discipline, and Vedanta's ultimate realities.
All right, so we've got a framework for knowledge from Nyaya and models of the universe's building blocks from Vaisesika and Samkhya. Now let's shift towards personal transformation, towards freedom.
Yeah.
And that brings us to yoga, right?
Exactly. Yoga, particularly as codified by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, and while many today associate it mainly with physical postures, asanas, it's fundamentally a profound system for mental discipline.
And it's connected to Samkhya, isn't it?
Very closely. Yoga largely accepts Samkhya's metaphysics, the Purusha-Prakriti duality, the gunas, the evolution of the world. But where Samkhya is more theoretical, yoga provides the practical method, the discipline, to actually achieve the separation of Purusha from Prakriti.
Separation for what purpose?
For liberation. The core definition of yoga in the sutras is chitta vritti nirodha,
Chitta vritti nirodha.
the restraint or cessation of the modifications, the fluctuations of the mind stuff.
Stopping the mind's chatter.
Essentially, yes, silencing all the mental activities that constantly color our consciousness. The ultimate goal is for the self, the Purusha, to abide in its own true nature, to regain its eternal and pure free status. That's Kaivalya.
Yeah, value. Absolute freedom, release from suffering.
Exactly. Deliverance.
So what are these modifications of the mind, the vrittis, that need restraining?
Patanjali lists 5 main types. Right knowledge, pramana, like we discussed in Nyaya, wrong knowledge or error,
Right.
imagination or verbal delusion, vikalpa, deep sleep, nidra, and memory, smriti.
Even right knowledge and sleep are modifications to be stilled.
Yes, because the goal is for Purusha to rest in its own nature, uncolored by any mental content, even correct perception or restful sleep.
Okay. So how do you restrain them? What's the path?
Patanjali outlines a dual approach, abhyasa and vairagya.
Practicing.
Practice abhyasa is the sustained, dedicated effort to achieve that state of stillness, consistent exertion. And vairagya is desirelessness, or non-attachment, cultivating indifference to worldly objects, pleasures, even psychic powers that might arise.
Practice and letting go.
That's the essence. And this dual approach underpins the famous eightfold path, the Ashtanga Yoga.
Ah, the 8 limbs. Can you quickly walk us through them?
Sure, it's a progressive path. First, yama, these are the universal moral restraints. Non-injury, ahimsa, truthfulness, satya, non-stealing, asteya, continence, brahmacharya, and non-possessiveness, aparigraha.
Foundational ethics.
Then niyama, personal observances. Things like purity, shocha, contentment, santosha, austerity, tapas, self-study, svadhyaya, and devotion or surrender to a higher principle, ishvara pranitana.
Okay. Ethics and personal discipline.
Third is asana posture. Achieving a steady, comfortable physical state that allows the mind to be steady too. Not just about flexibility, but stability for meditation.
Right. Yeah.
Fourth, pranayama, regulation of breath. Controlling the life force, prana, through specific breathing techniques to calm the nervous system and prepare the mind. Patanjali actually defines it as the stoppage of the movements of inhalation and exhalation.
Breath control.
Fifth, pratyahara, sense withdrawal. drawing the senses inward, away from external objects, so they follow the mind rather than pulling it outward.
Turning inward, we're getting more subtle now.
Exactly. The last three are often grouped together as the internal limbs focused purely on the mind. Sixth is dharana concentration, fixing the mind steadfastly on a single point or object. Seventh is dhyana meditation, an unbroken, continuous flow of attention towards that object of concentration.
Sustained focus.
And finally, eighth is samadhi trance or absorption, the state where the mind becomes so absorbed in the object that it loses awareness of itself, shining forth only as the object. Deep meditative absorption. Concentration, meditation, absorption. That's the progression, yes. And the source also mentions samyama.
Samyama.
This is the combined, simultaneous practice of the last three limbs, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, applied to a specific object or concept.
Okay, like a focused super meditation.
You could say that. And Patanjali says that by perfecting samyama on different things, yogis can gain extraordinary powers, siddhis.
Powers like what?
Things like knowledge of past and future lives, understanding the minds of others, knowing the constitution of the body, even things like invisibility or levitation are mentioned.
Oh, seriously.
According to the text, yes. But here's the crucial, maybe surprising twist. These powers, while perhaps real attainments on the path, are ultimately considered obstacles to the final goal, the highest form of samadhi, which is seedless nirvana.
Obstacles, why?
Because they can distract the yogi, feed the ego, and keep the mind engaged with the phenomenal world, even a subtle one. They are described as perfections to the outgoing mind, but distractions for the one seeking ultimate liberation, kaivalya.
So the real goal is to go beyond even those incredible powers.
Precisely. Yoga provides this incredibly rigorous, step-by-step experiential methodology for self-mastery. It's not just intellectual belief, it's about disciplined practice to gain direct control over the mind and transcend suffering by realizing the true nature of the self, Purusha.
Okay, that's a powerful path. Now let's turn to Vedanta. This seems like the peak, philosophically speaking, right? Dealing with ultimate reality.
Vedanta, meaning the end of the Vedas, definitely represents a pinnacle of inquiry into the nature of reality, the self, and Brahman, the ultimate principle. But it's not monolithic. There are several major schools with profoundly different interpretations.
Right, not just one Vedanta. Let's start with perhaps the most famous one, Samkara's Advaita Vedanta.
Advaita means non-dualism. For Samkara, the ultimate reality, Brahman, is the only reality. It's described as Sat Chitananda, pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. It's eternal, all-knowing, unchanging, absolutely one, without attributes in its highest nature, nirguna.
Okay, one absolute reality. Where does the individual self, the Atman, fit in?
Here's the core teaching of Advaita. Atman is Brahman. The individual self, in its true essence, is absolutely non-different from the ultimate reality.
Non-different. So my true self is that ultimate reality.
In its essential nature, yes. The apparent difference, the sense of being a separate individual, is due to ignorance, avidya.
Ignorance. What about the world we see then? It seems pretty real.
Samkara explains the world using the concept of Maya. The phenomenal world is an appearance. It's not ultimately real in the way Brahman is, but it's not completely non-existent either, like the horns of a rabbit. It has a relative empirical reality. That's a common analogy. A dream seems real while you're in it, but upon waking, you realize its illusory nature relative to the waking state. Similarly, the world seems real due to Maya, but upon realizing Brahman, its ultimate unreality becomes clear.
And our suffering, where does that come from?
From adhyasa, or superimposition. This is the fundamental error of mistaking the unreal for the real, identifying the true self, Atman, with the limitations of the body, senses, mind, and ego, which are all products of Maya.
So we mistakenly think, I am this body or I am this mind.
Exactly. And this misidentification leads to attachment, aversion, fear, and all forms of suffering.
How do you get out of it then? Liberation.
Liberation, moksha, in Advaita comes through jnana, true knowledge. The direct, intuitive realization of the non-difference between Atman and Brahman. When ignorance, avidya, is dispelled by this knowledge, the illusion of separateness dissolves, and one realizes one's eternal nature as Brahman.
Pure knowledge is the path.
Okay.
That's Advaita. Now what about Ramanuja? His view is different, right? Qualified non-dualism.
Very different. Ramanuja's school is called Vishishtadvaita, qualified non-dualism. For him, Brahman is also the ultimate reality, but it's not an impersonal, attribute-less absolute. Brahman is identified with a personal god, typically Vishnu, who possesses infinite auspicious qualities.
So a personal god as the ultimate.
Yes, and crucially, individual selves, chit, and matter, akit, are also real. They are not illusions created by Maya.
They're real. How does that work with non-dualism?
Ramanuja uses the analogy of the body and soul. Selves and matter are considered distinct attributes or modes of Brahman, forming the body of God, who is their inner controller and soul. They are eternally dependent on Brahman, but are real and distinct entities within the whole. So reality is one, but it's a qualified unity, containing real diversity within it.
Okay, so the self is real, matter is real, and God is real, all part of one qualified whole.
Exactly. Ramanuja also strongly disagrees with Samkara about attributeless Brahman. He argues that all knowledge is necessarily of something with attributes. We can't know pure, undifferentiated being. Knowledge always reveals distinctions.
Makes sense. And how does one achieve liberation in this view?
Not primarily through intellectual knowledge, gnana alone, but through bhakti, loving devotion, and self-surrender to the personal God, Brahman Vishnu.
Devotion is the path.
Yes. Through intense devotion combined with knowledge and righteous action, the soul attains God's grace and reaches communion with God in a state of eternal bliss while still retaining its individual identity, its participation, not merging.
Interesting contrast. And then there's Madhva, even more distinct.
Madhva takes the distinction even further with his Dvaita Vedanta, or dualism. He strongly asserts the absolute and eternal difference between God, individual souls, and the material world.
Pure dualism.
Yes. For Madhva, God, usually identified as Vishnu, is the supreme independent reality. Individual souls, jivas, and matter, prakriti, are eternally real and eternally distinct from God and from each other, and they are completely dependent on God.
Dependent but totally separate.
Totally separate in their essential nature. Madhva is famous for emphasizing the 5 fundamental differences, Panchabheda. The difference between God and the soul, God and matter, soul and soul, soul and matter, and between individual material things. These differences are absolute and eternal.
Well, the complete opposite of Advaita's non-difference.
Pretty much. There's no illusion, Maya, in Madhva's system in the way Samkara uses it. The world is real, souls are real and numerous, and God is distinct and supreme.
And liberation here, how does that work if you're eternally distinct?
Liberation isn't about merging with God or realizing identity. It's about realizing one's true nature as eternally dependent on God and finding bliss in his presence through his grace. It involves overcoming wrong knowledge, like thinking you're independent, and cultivating pure devotion, bhakti. Liberation is a gift bestowed by God's grace upon worthy souls, allowing them to experience their innate bliss potential in service to him.
So again, devotion and grace are key.
Very much so. So, you see, within Vedanta itself, you have these profoundly different understandings of the ultimate nature of reality, the self, God, and the path to freedom. From absolute non-dualism to qualified non-dualism to pure dualism.
These aren't just minor disagreements, are they?
Not at all. They represent fundamentally different ways of mapping reality and the path. How do these diverse views challenge our own, maybe unexamined, assumptions about what's ultimately real? It's quite something to ponder. Duty, ritual, and unseen forces. Purva Mimamsa.
Okay, one more major system to explore, Purva Mimamsa. This one feels a bit different from the others, does it? Less focus on, say, liberation from suffering in the same way.
That's a fair assessment. Purva Mimamsa, sometimes just called Mimamsa, is primarily concerned with dharma, usually translated as duty, righteousness, or prescribed action, specifically as laid out in the early parts of the Vedas, the Samhitas, and Brahmanas.
So focus on Vedic injunctions and rituals.
Exactly. While other systems often focus on knowledge, gnana, or liberation, moksha, as the ultimate goal, Mimamsa emphasizes the correct performance of Vedic rituals and duties as the primary means to attain desired results, like happiness or achieving heaven.
And their view of the Vedas is pretty strong.
Right, extremely strong. What's fascinating and foundational for Mimamsa is their unwavering belief in the eternality and inherent self-validity, samatha pramanya, of the Vedas.
Self-valid, what does that mean?
It means they argue that all knowledge, particularly knowledge gained from the Vedas, is considered true by default. It's ipso facto true. The burden of proof is not on proving the Veda true, but on proving it false, which they argue is impossible for Vedic injunctions concerning dharma.
Wow, so the Veda is just inherently true, no external proof needed.
That's their position regarding its core teachings on duty and ritual. It's an unchallengeable source of dharma.
Okay, and central to how these rituals work, they have this unique concept apurva.
Ah, yes, apurva. This is a really interesting and crucial idea in Mimamsa. It literally means unseen or unprecedented.
Unseen one.
An unseen force or potency. Think about it. You perform a sacrifice today, but the result, like going to heaven, might only happen long after your death. The sacrifice itself is temporary, perishable.
Right, the action is finished.
So how does the action produce a result much later? Apurva is the answer. The ritual action creates this invisible potency, this apurva, which resides in the soul of the performer and acts as an intermediary link, ensuring that the fruit of the action manifests at the appropriate future time.
So it's like a cosmic IOU, or a stored potential energy from the ritual.
That's a good way to think about it. It's the unseen mechanism that guarantees the cause and effect relationship between ritual action and its future result, bridging the time gap.
Okay, that's unique. What about God in Mimamsa? Do they focus on a creator God like Vedanta often does?
Generally, no. This is another distinctive feature. Early Mimamsa, particularly Jaimini, the author of the Mimamsa Sutras, doesn't really concern itself with proving or disproving the existence of a supreme creator God.
Really? But they deal with Vedic rituals that mention deities.
They absolutely acknowledge the Vedic deities to whom sacrifices are offered, but the deities are often seen more as part of the ritual formula, grammatical components, you might say, rather than requiring belief in them as independent, powerful beings controlling the results. The power lies in the ritual itself, performed correctly according to Vedic injunction.
So the ritual's inherent power is primary, not necessarily divine intervention.
For many Mimamsakas, yes. The system's main focus is the efficacy of the action and the authority of the Vedic command, vidi, not theological speculation about a supreme being. Later, Mimamsakas sometimes integrated theistic ideas, but it wasn't central to the core system.
Interesting. And they also had strong views about language, didn't they?
Yeah.
Related to the Vedas being eternal.
Absolutely. They argued for the eternality of words, Shabdhanachatva, and the inherent uncreated relationship between a word and its meaning, artha.
Words are eternal. How does that work?
They argued that a word, like cow, doesn't primarily refer to an individual cow you see, but to the universal class or form, akriti, of cowness. This class is eternal. And the connection between the sound cow and the concept class cowness is also beginningless and inherent, not established by human convention or divine decree.
So the word cow always meant cow eternally.
Essentially, yes. This ties directly back to the authority of the Vedas. If words and their meanings are eternal and uncreated, then the Vedas, being composed of these eternal words, cannot have been authored by any person, human or divine. They just are.
Making them infallible and eternally valid sources of Dharma.
Precisely. It underpins their entire system. So Mimamsa gives us this fascinating alternative path, centered on precise action, orthopraxy, the inherent power of sacred utterance, and the unseen consequences of fulfilling one's duty as prescribed by an eternal, authorless Veda. It's quite different from the knowledge or devotion-centered paths we saw elsewhere.
Definitely a unique perspective focused squarely on action and its results. Outro. Wow, we have really covered a vast intellectual landscape today, haven't we?
We certainly have. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, from Nyaya's really rigorous logic, figuring out how we know what's true, to Vaisesika's kind of atomic map of the universe.
And Samkhya's dance of the gunas, describing how matter and experience unfold.
Right. The yoga's incredibly detailed path of mental discipline, aiming for that state of kaivalya, that ultimate freedom.
Followed by Purva Mimamsa's intense focus on duty, ritual, and that unseen potency, apurva.
And finally, the profound and sometimes clashing views within Vedanta about Brahman, the self, Maya, liberation through knowledge or devotion.
It's quite a spectrum.
It really is. And you know, these ancient deep dives, they still feel so relevant. They continually challenge us, don't they, to examine not just what we believe, but how we arrive at those beliefs.
Absolutely. And what those beliefs imply about our potential for freedom, for understanding reality. Each system offers such a distinct lens to look through.
Whether it's the lens of logical proof, or the structure of matter and consciousness, or disciplined self-mastery, or the perfect performance of duty.
Or that direct, intuitive insight into the nature of ultimate reality, however differently conceived.
So maybe something for you, our listener, to consider as you go about your day. How much of your own understanding of the world, your own framework, is based on assumptions that one of these ancient systems might, well, shake up a bit? And which of these ancient wisdom traditions, if any, resonates most with your own quest for truth and understanding? Or maybe, which one offers a completely new angle on something you thought you already had figured out?
A provocative thought indeed. There's always more to explore.